It's fall, my favorite time of the year. The weather is cooling, the leaves are turning, and there is pumpkin everywhere. So if you're like me and you love some pumpkin, you're gonna love these treats I have for you today. This is my pumpkin pie protein oatmeal. I'll also be sharing a pumpkin pie protein shake as well, because if you're gonna be having pumpkin, why not throw a little protein into the mix? So if you'd like to see how these are made, stick around because it's coming up next. Hello and welcome to my kitchen. My name is Roy. I'm a home cook and amateur baker, and I'm here on this channel sharing recipes that have helped me to lose over 125 pounds, whether those recipes are mine or someone else's. Now, before I get started, I do want to apologize if you hear any background noise, because of course we asked the landscapers to come sometime this week, and of course they chose this morning to do it. So if you hear any noise, it's all sorts of leaf blowers and things going on outside, so hopefully it's not too distracting. Now today you are getting my recipe, but it's not just one. I was walking through the supermarket, and of course all the pumpkin stuff is out now, and that is my downfall. I love anything pumpkin. I'm willing to try them. I saw a pumpkin spice oatmeal by Quaker, and I was tempted to buy it, but I was like, I'm sure I can make something that's going to be much better in bites, points, and calories. So that's what I decided to do. But I thought this alone wasn't good enough for a video, so I've decided to add some more pumpkin pie stuff and do a pumpkin pie shake. But these aren't just pumpkin pie, they're also protein. So it's a pumpkin pie protein oatmeal and a pumpkin pie protein shake. Now the oatmeal is going to have a different source of protein than the shake will, but we'll get to that in a moment. This, I'm going to start with the oatmeal, because if you saw my Bananas Foster oatmeal a couple weeks ago, you know that it kind of takes a little setup. So what I'm going to do is soak the oatmeal first, and while I'm doing that, letting that soak for half an hour, I will then show you the shake. But first it's the oatmeal, so let's go over the ingredients. I have here half a cup of water. You could replace that with almond milk. It will bump up the bites or points a little bit, perhaps. Maybe it won't change them at all, but I'm going with water. I have here 1/3 cup of old-fashioned oats, and you want to use old-fashioned oats rather than quick oats, because we're going to be soaking them and you don't want them to get too mushy, which may happen with quick cooking. Here I have 1/3 cup of pumpkin puree, and that is plain pumpkin puree, not pumpkin pie filling, which already has sugars and spices added to it. Here I have 1/3 cup of almond milk, and if you saw the other video, you know that you do equal amounts of oatmeal and water and almond milk. It's the same with the pumpkin. We're throwing in 1/3 cup. So all of those are the same measurement. So this is adaptable. You can make more if you want, and you just know what the ratio is. Here I have 1 egg, and that is where we're going to get the protein in our oatmeal. It may seem a little odd to be putting an egg into oatmeal, but I'm telling you, it tastes just like pumpkin pie filling with some oatmeal mixed in. I didn't want to just throw in some protein powder, which may dry it out a bit. I wanted a good source of protein that most people have available. You may not have protein powder, and that's fine. Here I have 1 tablespoon of brown sugar replacement. You can use granulated sugar replacement, but the brown sugar replacement definitely enhances the pumpkin pie flavor. Here I have 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 1/2 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, and a pinch of salt. You can leave the salt out if you're watching your salt, but it does help to enhance some of the flavors. But if you need to leave it out, that's fine. All right, so those are all of the ingredients. I'm not gonna shuffle anything around because I will be doing that in a moment when we switch over to the shake. But the first thing we're going to do is add in our oats and our water and just stir that around to get that oatmeal hydrated. And now this has to sit here for half an hour to let that oatmeal soak up the water, and that's going to give us such creamy oatmeal. If you've tried my bananas Foster or any of the variations that I put into the recipe, you know how creamy this is. So I'm going to let this soak for half an hour. I'm going to shuffle a few things around so we can get started on our shake. Okay, so for our pumpkin pie protein shake, these are the ingredients we're going to need. I have here 1/2 of a medium banana. That was about a 6-ounce banana with the peel on. It comes to about 2 1/4 ounces once you've taken the peel off and just cut up half of it. But that has been quartered and cut into slices, so there are nice little chunks in there. And that has been frozen overnight because that's going to help to thicken and chill our shake. Here we have 1/2 cup of almond milk. Now, when I use almond milk, you can use any milk that you want, but this is 1/2 cup. You may want a little bit extra if the shake is too thick and you want to thin it down a little bit, but I haven't had that problem. Here I have 2 ice cubes, and that is going to help us to thicken and chill our shake as well. You can use 2 to 3. I'm usually fine with 2, but you may need 3. Here I have 1/3 cup of pumpkin puree, again, not pumpkin pie filling, which is already sweetened. Here I have 2 tablespoons of vanilla protein powder. Now, I'm using Premier Protein. 2 tablespoons is about 1/2 of their scoops, and 1 serving for them is 2 scoops. So 2 tablespoons should be good. It's about 12 grams in the Premier Protein, but others may weigh differently, so just go with 2 tablespoons. Here I have 1 tablespoon of brown sugar replacement, and that is again going to enhance that pumpkin pie flavor, but you could use granulated if that's what you have. Here I have 1/2 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And that's just gonna bump up our flavor a little bit, that vanilla. It's going to enhance a lot of the flavors. And those are all of the ingredients. Now I have my NutriBullet here. This isn't sponsored by them in any way. This is just more convenient, but you can use a regular blender, especially if you are making more servings than just the one. Both this shake and the oatmeal are going to be for 1 serving. Okay, so take my cup. This comes together pretty quickly. I'm going to take the blade off. Obviously, if you're using a regular blender, that isn't what you'll be doing. But I'm going to take my cup and start adding almond milk, pumpkin, bananas, ice, brown sugar replacement, protein powder, pumpkin pie spice, and vanilla. And then you just have to, for this, put the lid back on. But obviously, in a blender, you just start blending it up. I do like to shake it a little bit just to get that pumpkin pie spice spread throughout a little bit, get things started. But then I'm going to put this on and we're gonna blend. I like to blend it, shake it up a little bit. I also want to make sure that those drips are going to be in there. Again, if you're using a regular blender, that's not a problem. But we're just going to unscrew our top and pour in our shake and add in a straw, and you're all set. You don't even need a straw. I typically don't use one, but I thought it would look nice for the video. Now I still have some time for my oatmeal to soak. So while I'm doing that, let's go over the nutrition facts for our protein shake. So for 1 nice thick shake here, it's only going to be 1 Better Balance by Earl Blue Point. I'm on the Healthy Better Balance plan, which is equivalent to the old WW Blue plan, and that's around where their current plan is. But if you were following calories, the calories for this shake are going to be 140. And if you are following macros, the fat is 2.2 grams, saturated fat is 0.5 grams, protein is 9.5 grams, carbs are 34.1 grams, fiber is 4.4 grams, and sugars are 10.2 grams for 1 shake. Now, I'm going to go enjoy this while I wait for my oatmeal to soak, so I'll be back in a moment to finish that up. So it's been half an hour that I've been soaking my oatmeal. You can go up to 2 hours. You could even really do it overnight. I did mention in my previous video doing this method that rather than having to wake up and let this sit for a half an hour, you could let it soak overnight. I find it's not as creamy as I like, but it still works fine and it's still delicious and creamy. But now what we're going to do is, to our soaked oatmeal, we're going to add our almond milk, pumpkin, brown sugar replacement, pumpkin pie spice, and salt. And then we want to stir this all together just to get this started. And I'm going to set this on medium heat so that we can start this cooking. But you want to make sure that all of these flavors and ingredients are well combined in here. Now we're just going to wait for this to come up to a low boil, and then we are going to cook it until it is almost to the texture that we want. We want it creamy. We want it slightly still loose because we are going to be adding in the egg, and that is going to help thicken things up as well and give us that pumpkin pie feeling. Let me get this up to a boil and I'll be right back. Okay, so our oatmeal is beginning to bubble and boil a little bit. We're going to stir it periodically. Now this is going to take about 5 or 6 minutes for it to come to the creamy texture that we're looking for. But we also want to make sure that our egg is going to incorporate very quickly once we get it in there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take the vanilla and add it to the egg and then whisk that up. We want to break up that egg because we don't want to have to try to break it up while it's going into the hot oatmeal, because that's going to give it more time to cook. And one other thing I did forget to mention is that you want to make sure your egg is at room temperature. Usually what I will do is when I soak the oatmeal, when I get that started, I will take out the egg because you want it as close to room temperature as you can. You don't want to add a cold egg into a hot liquid because then it'll just start to seize up much more quickly. So by breaking it up and having it at room temperature, we're going to be able to incorporate it much more easily. Okay, so that's broken up. Let me stir this a little bit. We still have a little ways to go, so I'll be back in a moment when we're ready to add in our egg. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes and most of the liquid is absorbed. I don't want all of it gone because, as I said, we're going to add in the egg and it's actually going to help to set this more. But if you look, I make a trail and it slowly starts to seep back together. That is what I'm looking for. So now what we're going to do is add in the egg, and you want to work very quickly because you don't want the egg to scramble. You want it to incorporate and become creamy. If you've ever made carbonara, that's the same thing. You're adding egg to something hot, so you have to work really quickly. So we're just going to slowly pour that in as we're beating the eggs in, and you just want to make sure you get that all incorporated. Now you see it's loosened up the oatmeal a little bit, but that's fine because we're going to let this cook for another minute or two, and that is going to thicken up and get creamy and give us that nice pumpkin pie flavor. And as you saw, it wasn't that difficult to incorporate this. You just have to work quickly. And I know when I first made carbonara, I was very nervous about adding the eggs in and getting scrambled eggs. And luckily that didn't happen. It didn't happen here either. Just gonna keep stirring for about a minute or two. Okay, so it's been about 2 minutes. I moved my spoon through it and now it does not come back together. That is what we're looking for. Turn off the heat, and I'm going to pour this right into my bowl. And look how creamy that is. Add my spoon and I am ready to dig in. Now, if you wanted, you could add some chopped nuts on top. You could add some chocolate chips if you wanted. You could add some dried cranberries. You could top this, but honestly, I really don't think you need it. This is so good, so satisfying, and that extra protein along with the oatmeal really helps to keep you full and satisfied for quite a while. Now, as far as the nutrition facts for this one, this is only going to be 3 Better Balanced Bites or Old Blue Points. So really great on that, and a very filling, satisfying portion. Now, if you were following calories, the calories for this serving would be 222. And if you were following macros, the fat would be 7.8 grams. Saturated fat would be 2 grams. Protein would be 10.8 grams. Carbs would be 38.3 grams. Fiber would be 5.6 grams. And sugars would be 3.9 grams for this serving of oatmeal. But I hope that you enjoyed this recipe in this video, and if you did, I'd appreciate you doing the usual: like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit that notification bell for the next time I upload any sort of video. And if you want the recipe for the oatmeal and the shake, they will of course be on my blog. I will link directly to each of these recipes down below, as well as to the blog itself. So don't forget to check out that description box for all sorts of information. Now I think it's time for me to go and have my breakfast. I cannot wait, and I hope you'll be trying it yourself very soon. So until next time, bye.